Chapter 9, a framework for the expression of greatness. The man who are great life but that which is substantial, they do not stay but that which is superficious. They avid but realities, they remain not but what is so. The one they discard, the other they hold. Lao Taju. Hey cats, boomed the billionaire. You are right on time. As usual, nice work. It was a 5 a.m., and while the retreating outline of the moon remained in the sky, the ray of the new dawn greeted the three human beings standing on perfect beach. The perfumed ocean's breeze swirled with notes of red hibiscus, cloves, and tuberose. The Morris's kestrel and rarest falcon in the world flew overhead and a pink pigeon. The scarset on the planet minded its business near a lush cluster of palm tree. A family of geckos shot by on their way to Nemesis Peace, important and against Aldabra. Tortoise crawled along a grassy bank above the shore. All this natural splendor elevated the joy and electrified the spirit of three members of the 5 a.m. club who stood on the sand. The billionaire pointed to a bottle floating in the ocean. As he waved his finger from side to side, the bottle moved from side to side. When he twirled a desert, the bottle in the water swelled with it. And when he lifted a hand slowly, the bottle appeared to rise above the surface of the ocean. Soon the container was up onto the wet sand, and it became clear that a swatch of silk had been rolled up inside of it. Picture how mysterious all this seemed. Masses in a bottle, declared the billionaires happily. He started clapping his hands like a little tyke. He sure was abnormal and a totally wonderful characters. This convenience sets the tone of my mentoring session with you this morning, he added. The industrialist then lifted the vessel, unscrewed the cap, pulled out the fabric which had the framework below stitched onto it. The three-step success formula: granularity, step 1 learning, better awareness, growing, super superficiality, steps 2 implementations, better choice, executions, step 3 income, better results, impact. This is this is one of the simplest yet gnarliest of the teaching models, the spellbinder said when he started coaching me as a young man, explained the billionaire, using more of his surface slang, and it's provide a context for all the teachings that will follow. So I rarely want you both to understand it intimately at first glance. It seems like a really basic model, but as you integrated it over time, you will see how profound it is. Mr. Raleigh then closed his eyes, covered his ears and his hands, and recited these words. The beginning of the transformation is the increase of perceptions. As you see more, you can materialize more, and once you know better, you can achieve bigger. The great women and men of the world, the ones responsible for the magical symphonies and the beautiful movements and the advancements of science and the progress of technology started by re engineering their thinking and reinventing their awareness. In so doing, they entered a secret universe that the majority could not perceive, and this, in turn, allowed them to make the daily choices few chose to make, which automatically delivered the daily results few get to experience. The tycoon reopened his eyes. He raised an index finger to his lips as if immersed in a some splendidly weighty inside, looking intently at the framework embedded into the self. He continued. Heroes, titans, and icons all have a personal traits that average performers just don't show, which is asked the artist, who was dressed goofily in a musical shirt and a speedo swimsuit. Rieger replied the billionaire, the best in the world have depth. Members of the majority often get stuck in a mindset of superficiality in their work. Their whole approach is light, no real preparations, very little con- contemplations, and then the setting of the towering vision for the desired outcome along with patiently considering the sequencing of executions that will result in an awesome result. The 95% of performers don't invest in stacking attention into the tiniest of details and fail to refine the smallest of finishes like the great masters do. For most people, the truth is that it's all about the path of least resistance, getting what they need to get done fast and just sneaking by, mailing it in instead of bringing it on. The minority of exceptional creative achiever operates under a completely different philosophy. Tell me, appealed the artist, intrigued. They apply a mentality of granularity instead of mindset of superficiality. They have encoded depth as a lifetime value and exist under a profound insistence on a greatness in all that they do. Exceptionalist, exceptionalist fully understand that their creative outputs, no matter if they are bricklayers or bakers, chief executives officers or dairy farmers, astronaut or cashiers, represents their reputations. The best in any endeavor appreciate the fact that your good name is branded into every piece of work that you release, and they get that you can't put a price tag on people saying super B things about you. The billionaire rubbed the bottle, then he held it up and viewed the last evidence of the disappearing moon through its glass before continuing his discourse. But it goes deeper than a social approval. The industrialist indicated the grade of work you offer to the world reflects the strength of respect you have for yourself. Those with unfathomable steam, personal esteem wouldn't dare send out anything average. It would be diminish them too much. If you want to lead your field, Mr. Riley went on, became a performer and a person of depth. He reinformed, commit to being a highly unusual human being instead of one of those timid souls who behave like everyone else, living a sloppy life instead of magnificent one, a derivative life instead of an original one. Profound, the artist contributed, showing great exuberance while taking off his muscle shirt to get some sun. In their works, the masters of mastery are extraordinarily thoughtful. They think precisely about what they are doing. They hold their labor to highest of standards and sweat the smallest of strokes, like masters sculptor Gian Lorenzo Bernini did as he crafted Fontana di Quattro Fiumi, Fountain of the Four Rivers. His masterpiece that sits gloriously in the center of Piazza Navona in Rome. Such producers are meticulous and craft at near flawless. And obvious as his sounds, they just really care. People have a lot to do in their days these days, interjected the entrepreneur. This isn't the 1600s. My inbox is full. My schedule is packed. I have back to back meeting most days. I need to do pitches. I feel like I can never keep up with all that's coming at me. Shooting for mastery isn't easy, I understand. The billionaire replied kindly, less is more, you know. You are attempting too much. Genius understand that it's a smarter to create one masterwork than 1,000 ordinary pieces. One of the reasons I love being around the finest art is that the belief system, emotional inspirations, and the ways of working of those great virtuous rub off on me. And I can tell you with absolute certainty, these epic performers inhabited an entirely different universe than most people in a business and society populate today. As I have suggested just then, a brilliant colored butterfly perched on a very tip of stone Riley's left ears. He smiled and said, "Hey, little buddy, nice to see you again." The magnet then added, when you deconstruct how the superstars, virtuosos, and genius achieved what they did, you will realize that it was their highest heightened awareness of the opportunities for daily greatness that inspired them to make the better daily choices that yield better daily results. Mr. Riley pointed to the learning model. That's the power of self education. He went on, as you become aware of new ideas, you will grow as a producer and as a person. As you escalate your personal and professional development, the level at which you implement and execute around your gorgeous ambitions will rise. And of course, as your ability to make your dreams and visions into reality increases, you will be rewarded with a greater income and higher impact. The magnet spoke as he tapped a finger onto a step 3 of diagram. This is why agreeing to this training with me was such a smart move. And this is what this framework here is designed to teach you. The billionaire scratched his lean abs and inhaled a deep breath of ocean air. And may I say that because of the way the remarkable ones saw the world and how they behaved when it came to their crafts, and because they showed up in their lives so very differently from the way mass of humanity operates. They were called cooks, misfits, weirdos. They weren't, exclaimed the billionaire exuber- exuberantly. They just played at a much higher level in rare air. They brought rigor to what they did. They spent weeks, months, sometimes years getting the finished touches perfect. They forced themselves to stay with the work when they felt alone or scared or bored. They persisted in the translations of their heroic visions into everyday reality when they were misunderstood, ridiculed, and even attacked. God, I admire the great geniuses of the world. I really do. The further a society drifts from the truth, the more it will hate those that speak it. Offered the artist succinctly. The entrepreneur looked at him as he began to rub a bracelet on her wrist. George Orwell said that he pronounced, and whenever you are creating beauty around you, you are restoring your own soul. The artist carried on. Alice Walker said that the masters produce in a way that ordinary workers would label as obsessive, expounded the industrialist, but the reality of the remarkability is that what the 95% of performers call picky behavior surroundings and important projects. The top 5% of creators know is simply the price of admission for the world class. Here, look at the model again so we can bring even more precision to your understanding around it. Struck the billionaires as he touched the diagram on the piece of silk. The majority of people on the planet today really are trapped in superficiality. He confirmed superficial understanding of their power to rise, superficial intimacy with possibilities of their potential, superficial knowledge of neurobiology of mastery, the daily routines of the world builders, and the very ambitious, the wish to prioritize, the reminder of their lives around. The majority is stuck in vague, imprecise thinking, and vague, imprecise thinking yields vague, imprecise results. A quick example ask the average person for a directions, and most of the time you will discover their instructions are unclear. That's because the way they thinks in unclear, said the billionaires as he picked up a stick from the bench and pointed it towards the world. Word granularity of on the frameworks. Legendary achievers are vastly different. They get that a mature level of awareness will never lead to the highest grade of professional results. Another example that I hope will dial in this important insight for you too. I am a huge fan of Formula One's racing. I was invited to hang out with my favorite team in the pet area recently. Their attentions to the slightest of particular, their dedications to the demonstration of extreme excellence, and their willingness to whatever it took to make things great was not only validating about tremendously inspiring. Again, to the ordinary person, the suggestion of the need for an obsessive attention to the most minor of details and the importance of ridiculously rigorous approach in their prose and private life seems odd. But that F1 crew, their flawless calibration of the race car, their superhuman speed in executing pit stops, and even the way they cleaned the pit area and with an industrial industrial vacuum cleaner after the car rolled away, so there wasn't even a hint of dirt anywhere, was fantastic. This is my point. The top 5% go granular versus applying a superficial mindset to their daily attitude, behaviors, and activities. They really sweat the fine points so much they removed the dirt from the pit area after the race car left. Question the artist, fascinated. Yep, remarked the billionaire. They swept and vacuumed the whole day, whole way. And when I asked them why, they told me that if even a molecule of sediment got into race machine engine, it could cost them a win, or even worse, it could result in loss of life. Actually, any small failure of even one team member or to act with precision could create a tragedy. One loose screw left by an unfocused crew members would lead to a calamity. One checklist item missed by a distracted associate might cause a catastrophe, or one missing measurement overlooked by a squad partner leaving some of his precious attentions on the phone he was playing with prior to pit stop could cost a victory. I am beginning to agree with you that the approach you are speaking of is important. Admitted the entrepreneur, very few business people, those in other fields like the art, science, and sport think and behave like this anymore. It used to be normal, I guess. Developing high awareness around the things that we do and having a painstaking approach to making our work perfect. Refining the details, sweating the little points, producing with precision rather than being unprofessional and careless. Under promising and over delivering, talking immense pride in our craft, going deep and embracing, to use your words, granularity versus superficiality. I must give credit where it's due, said the billionaire humbly. This languing, this languing, and this model was taught to me by the spellbinder. But yes, small things matter when it comes to mastery. I read somewhere that the Space Shuttle Challenger's disaster, which broke so many hearts, was caused by the failure of a single O ring seal that some expert valued at 70 cents. Horrific ending of lives was caused by a flaw around what appeared to be an insignificant details. This all makes me think of the Dutch genius Vermeer, the artist contributed. He was a painter who pursued work of the highest quality. He experimented with the different techniques that would allow natural light to fall in a way that made his art look three-dimensional. There was such a depth to what he created, such attractiveness to each stroke, and such refinement in every move. So I agree too. The average artist has a really light, basic, impatient approach to their paintings. Their focus is more on cash than on the craft. Their attention is on the fame, not the finis. I guess because of this, they never build the higher awareness and acumen that will help them make the better choices, that will give them the better results, that will make them the legends of their fields. I'm starting to get how powerful this simple model is. I love Vermeer's woman in blue reading a letter, and of course, girl with a pearl earring, said the billionaires, cementing the fact that he appreciated great art. I love this insight that you are sharing with us. Observed and the entrepreneur, as her eyes widen, she then grasps the artist's hand. Mr. Riley winked. I knew this was coming, he muttered. with obvious happiness on seeing their growing romantic connections. He closed his eyes once again. The butterfly was still sitting on the ear of the eccentric tycoon. As it flopped its exotic colored wings, Mr. Riley spoke these words from the mighty poet Rumi. Gamble everything for love. If you are a true human being, if not, leave this gathering. Half-hearted, half-heartedness doesn't reach into majesty. Can I ask you a question? Wondered the entrepreneur. Absolutely, replied the billionaire. How does this philosophy of rigor and granul- granularity plays out in personal relationships? Not well, was the candid reply of the subtlest baron. The, the spellbinder schooled me on concepts called the dark side of genius. Basically, the idea is that every human gift comes with a downside, and the very quality that makes you special in one area is the same one that makes you a misfit in another. The reality is that many of the great vir- virtuous virtuosos of the world had messy private lives. The very gifts of seeing a vision few else could see, holding themselves to the absolute highest of their standards, being content alone for a long stretches of time as they worked monomanically, detailing the most minor points on their projects, behaving relentlessly in a following through on their masterpiece, acting with rarely seeing self-discipline and listening to their hurts while ignoring their critics made personal relationships hard. They were misunderstood and seen as a difficult and different, rigid and unbalanced. The billionaire then fell to the sand and started doing more push up at a ferocious pace. Next, while staring at a white dove that glided over the roof of his oceanside home. He did 20 burpees, then he carried on. And many of these legends of creativity, productivity, and world class performance were out of balance. The magnet stated they were perfectionists, mavericks, and fanatics. This is the dark side of genius. The very things make you amazing at your craft can devastate your home life. Just telling you cats the truth, observed the billionaire as he sipped from a water bottle that had tiny lettering on it. If you looked at it closely and carefully, here's what you had read. Philip of Macedonia in a message to Sparta. You are advised to submit without further delay, for if I bring my army into your land, I will destroy your farmer, slay your people, and raze your city. Sparta's reply if but just because your gifts have downside to them doesn't mean you shouldn't express them. Expounded the billionaires energetically. You just need a develop awareness around where they can lead you into trouble in your personal life and then the mass manage those traps. And this brings me beautifully back to this morning learning models that really does set a stage of everything you will learn about the transformational value of the 5M club and how to lock it in an enduring habit. The endless list bent down, picked up a sea-worn stick and tossed it into the silk swatch. Please always remember the core maxim for a elite performance that this framework for a personal greatness has been built around. With better daily awareness, you can make better daily choices. And with the better daily choices, you will start seeing better daily results. The spellbinder call this the three steps success formula. C. With better awareness of your natural ability to achieve great things, for example, or on how installing the 5 a.m. method into your morning routine will upgrade your productivity, you will rise from the community of superficiality that currently dominate dominates the earth up into the society of granularity. This heightened level of insight and consciousness will then optimize your daily decisions. And logically, once you get your daily choices right, you will accelerate your leadership accomplishments and impact dramatically because it's your decisions that make your results. For one of the coaching sessions, the billionaire continued the spellbinder, and I met in a Lucerne, Switzerland, such a pretty city set on a magnificent lake surrounded by breathtaking mountains, sort of fairy tale kind of place. Anywho, one morning he ordered a pot of hot water along with some lemon wedge lemon wedges so he could have the fresh lemon tea he enjoys sipping most mornings. Here's the thing. This should be interesting. The artist interrupted as he scratched an arm with a tattoo built around an Andy Warhol quote that said, I never think that people die. They just go to department stores. The tray arrived. The billionaire went on. Perfect silverware, excellent china, everything calibrated to the highest order. And get this, whoever cut the lemons in the kitchen exercises the deep craft razor essentials to sustain mastery by actual going to extra mile and carving the seeds out of the wedges. Amazing, right? The billionaire began to do same quirk dance that he did at the conference center. Then he stopped. The entrepreneur and the artist shook their heads. A pretty uncommon level of care, attentions to detail in the world of such superficiality and performance and performer stuck in apathy, said the entrepreneur, pretending not to be distracted by the moguls dancing. The spellbinders call the phenomenon pervading commerce these days. The collective deprofessionalist, the professionalizations of business, noted the billionaire, people who should be working, delighting customers, showcasing extraordinary skills, unlocking otherworldly value of their organization so both they and their firm experience success or watching inane videos on their phones, shopping online for shoes, or scrolling their social feeds. I've never seen people so disengaged at work, so checked out, and so exhausted. And I have never seen people making so many mistakes. The billionaire pointed the crooked stick at the three step success formula again. Deciding the lemon wedges in the fine metaphor so challenge you to consistently make the shift from the superficiality to grana- to granularity. Real rigor in terms of your approach to not only what you do at work but how you operate in your private life. True depth as it relates to how you think, behave, and deliver. Healthy perfectionism and an unyielding quest to be the best that you are capable of becoming it was. I am suggesting to you two good folks here on this awesome beach. This will give you what the spellbinder calls a GCA, Gargantum competitive advantage. It's a never been so easy to own the sport in business today because so few performers are doing the things required to reach industry dominance. Mastery is rarity, and people who play at a brilliant level are a scarcity. So the field is yours if you show up the way I am encouraging you to show up. Here's the powerful insight: there's a ton of competitions at ordinary, but there's almost none at extraordinary. There's never been such a glamorous opportunity to become peerless because so few people are dedicated to world class in this age of such scattered focus, eroded values, and deteriorated faith in ourselves, along with the inherent primal power we hold. How often do we meet someone at a store or in a restaurant who is fully present, astoundingly polite, unusually knowledgeable, full of enthusiasm, incredible hardworking, intensely mag- magnative, noticeably inventive, goes worthily great at what they do, almost never right. Yes, acknowledge the entrepreneur. I'd have to interview thousands of people to find one treasure like this. So you cats has cats have a GCA. Lucky you, shouted the billionaire. You can pretty much dominate your fields because so few like this now. Raise your commitment, step up your standards, and then get busy on hardwiring in this way of being as your default. And that's really important. You have to optimize daily. Consistency really is the DNA of mastery. And a small daily, seemingly insignificant improvements, when done consistently over time, it's staggering results. Please remember that great companies and wonderful lives don't happen by sudden revolutions. No, they materialize via increment evolutions, tiny daily wins and iter- iterations stacks into outcomes of excellence over the long term. But a few of us have the patience these days to endure the long game. As a result, not many of us ever became legends. All this information is fantastic and so valuable for my art, the artist said gratefully as he put this shirt back on. Wonderful to hear, acknowledged the billionaire. Look, I know that you both have experienced a ton of learning in a very short time. I understand that getting up early is a new skill you are installing, and everything you have heard about chasing greatness, leaving the crowd, relinquishing average, and renouncing ordinary is probably overwhelming. So that breathe and relax, please. Exceptionalism is exceptionalism is a journey. Virtuous virtuosity is a voyage. Rome wasn't built in a day, right? Right? Agree, the artist definitely accepted the entrepreneur and also get that rising into more pure reaches of your superior strengths and most sovereign human gifts is a uncomfortable and scary process. I have been through it, the rewards that are on their way to you as you remain dedicated to learning the 5M method are worth more than any amount of money, fame, wo- and worldly power you will ever have. And what I have taught you today is necessary component to systems for waking before day breaks and preparing yourself to be an elite achiever and luminous human being that we will go much deeper into in our upcoming sessions together. I guess what I really want to say before I let you cats go for this morning so you can go have some fun. This is that while growth as a producer and as a person can be hard, it truly is finest work a human being can ever do, and fully remembers that you are most alive when your heart beats quickest, and we are most awake when our fears screams loudest. So we need to keep going ahead, right? Confirm the entrepreneur as a lovely ocean breeze washed through her brown hair. Absolutely, said the tycoon. All sorrows of insecurity dissolve in the warm glow of persistency. Okay, one last example about assuming a rigorous approach in your professional and home life and gaining a GCA by going all granular on important projects around essential skills and during meaningful activities. After that, I'd love for you two to go swimming, snor- snorkeling, and sunbathing. You should see the spectacular lunch my team has been prepared for you. I need to head into Port Louis for a meeting, but I really hope you both will make yourself at home. So, Mr. Raleigh stopped for a moment, reached down and touched this toe for times while muttering the following mantra. Today is glorious day and I will live it all excellence with boundless enthusiasm and limitless integrity. True to my visions and with the heart full of love, I remember reading an article the billionaire continued, where the CEO of Monsler, the Italian fashion company, was asked what his favorite food was. He replied it was a spaghetti pomodoro. Then he said that while this dish seems strikingly, strikingly simple to prepare as it's only pasta, fresh tomatoes, olive oil, basil, and executives remarked that to get the calibration correct takes unusual expertise and uncommon prowesses. That's an important word for all three of us to keep top of mind as we tighten up our A games, elevate our performance, and accelerate our contributions to the world. Calibrations dealing in finest of altitude and refining the l- littlest of details in what granularity and ascensions into the orbit of your inherent genius and life magically live is all about. The eccentric magnet then placed an piece of silk from the bottle into a pocket of his shirt and vanished. The chapter 9 has been ended. 5 and club will come again with the next chapter